Hope and Heartbreak, Saturday on CNN.
This has never been a case of trying to get free. I didn't ever want freedom. Frankly, I wanted death for myself. This was a case to tell the world that I did what I did not for reasons of hate. I hated no one. I knew I was sick or evil or both. Now I believe I was sick.
We're back with the Dahmers. All right, we have a very shy, reclusive, kept to himself, close body of friends, not interested in girls. A different kind of kid, but certainly no sign to you of violent nature.
No. And no parent, no peer, no anyone.
No teacher ever called up and said, come in and talk to us.
No teacher told us about the time that we found out later that he had a six-pack at high school.
Mm-hmm. How about did he express anger?
He kept it in. He did not express anger.
You never saw him yell at anyone or get violent with something? Throw something?
No, I did not see him get angry with anyone physically. He would get angry at his younger brother, but not physically.
What happened when your marriage started to break up? How did that affect him?
Well, I was desperately trying to keep the marriage together. My wife wanted to go off and find herself, she said. Which means I don't know what. But
how did Jeff take it?
Jeff, I think he told me that it disturbed him very much.
Bothered him that you got divorced?
Yes, yes.
But when he met Sherry, he accepted you?
Yes, he was embarrassed and ashamed that his parents were divorced. See, I didn't. Oh yes, very much so. He didn't want his friends to know. He withheld his true feelings. He was very good at disguising his feelings, but he was ashamed and embarrassed.
Did you notice anything that you would have said, something's the matter with this boy?
The only thing that became obvious by sheer accident, I came home early one day and he was passed out on the bed drunk. And then I found out that he had been in the liquor cabinet and he would replace the empty bottles with water. So he was a closet alcoholic. That's the only thing that flagged.
How were his grades?
Sometimes he would get an A, and sometimes he'd get a D. It was very up and down.
He goes to college, though, right?
He went to Ohio State.
Ohio State University.
For a short time.
How did he not do well there?
Not do well at all, no.
Flunk out?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
From drinking.
Mm-hmm. Did he go to work? What did he do
Drinking and selling his blood.
What?
He sold his blood.
His
to blood banks?
Right, right.
For income?
For income,
for money
for
to
liquor.
drink.
Mm-hmm.
So he was an alcoholic?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
What did he go get a job?
No, he didn't.
Live at home with you?
He came back home, and I then proceeded to take him to the Army.
He enlisted?
Sign up for the Army, right.
He went to the Army?
There isn't, I told him there just doesn't seem to be any other way to go right now.
Did he serve?
He served. He came back from boot camp looking like just a wonderful physical specimen, smiling, helped me out cutting wood. We were encouraged.
What happened?
But don't forget, during all this time, when he was at Ohio State, he was drinking to cover up that first killing that occurred in...
That occurred when?
In 1976.
When he was
when he was 18.
And who did he kill?
Stephen Hicks.
This is all discovered later.
Yes.
When his mother left and he wanted to stay behind, he became very lonely. And that's when the first murder occurred.
He was about 18?
18.
He was 18, and I had moved out of the house.
17 going on 18.
I had moved out of the house, and he was left alone by his mother, who moved to northern Wisconsin.
Was Stephen Hicks a friend of his?
No, he just was a pickup. He was a hitchhiker.
Was he homosexual?
No. That's what happened. There was an altercation because Stephen wanted to leave. Jeff had made a pass at him and Stephen wanted to leave.
But he said he wasn't gay.
Stephen was not.
Jeffrey
and of
was.
course Jeff was a closet homosexual.
And you knew none of that either?
None.
No, nothing.
No indications.
So he's now committed a murder, but he's out of the Army, he seems fit to you, but nothing seems to work. What happens after the Army?
He kept getting together with another young man.
This is in Ohio or
yes,
Wisconsin?
In Ohio. And getting into trouble.
Police trouble?
Yes. I would give him my car to go look for a job, and he would end up drinking and leaving the car. He forgot where he left the car many times.
One murder up to this point?
Yes.
That you learned about all this later, but the first one.
Right. And eventually it got so bad that we sent him to his grandmother's house in
Your
Wisconsin.
parents?
Yes.
How did that
Wisconsin. For a while it went very well. My mother cooked for him, and he finally found a job at a chocolate company, and it went quite well for a while, but then things started to occur. He got a note at the library one time where he was, and a note offering sex. And this was after 5 years that he was living with my mother, and suddenly that somehow...
a note from someone offering sex with him?
Yes.
From a male?
Yes, and that somehow set him off on a homosexual murder spree.
That eventually took how many lives?
17, I think.
All of them in what city? Were they all in one city?
Milwaukee.
But he was living...
Except for the first one.
And he was... So the first one was in Ohio.
Ohio.
And the other 16 were in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
And he was working in the chocolate factory at the time?
Yeah.
And he maintained that job?
Yes.
And in contact with you?
Had contact with us. We were in Ohio. We'd visit. We'd talk on the phone.
No sign of anything other than the drinking?
He was getting arrested once or twice a year.
Disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct. He also pulled a gun out in a bar one time. So we thought we were going up there to get him out of trouble in regards to his drinking problem. Again, no hint that there was a darker side to his life.
More after this. We'll be right back.
You took my 17-year-old son away from me. I'll never get a chance to tell him that I loved him. I'd have a chance to tell him that I love him the last time I saw him, which will be a year tomorrow. You took my mother's oldest grandchild from her, and for that I can never forgive you. I hope you can deal with what you've done.